it.
Hi, back in the sparkly shed. Tales from the sparkly shed. We're doing a beer in the sparkly shed.
If we're looking a bit confused, it's always because technology's come round again. So there we are, we're doing that. But we're here, we're talking about creativity, which is really important with the technology that we are completely bemused with, which is ridiculous. So we're talking about creativity, which is, I think, interesting because I would say I am not creative. I cannot draw. I can't really visualize things. I have no spatial awareness. And when I talk to people who are a little bit more in line with this, they say, I have my own way of doing it. And I can see it in other people sometimes. But tell me what creativity means, why we should always accept that we're creative.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we kind of had this conversation kind of repeatedly, I kind of feel, like about being creative or not creative. And for me, creativity is something which I think everybody has it. I think everybody has some kind of creative ability. So it doesn't matter that you can't draw.
No.
You're brilliant at interior decorating. You're great at having a visualization about how your house works. You're really interested in your garden. You're very creative in your garden. So all of those things to me mean that you're creative. It could also be that you like cooking or you like flower arranging. I mean, they're all kind of different things that are creative.
I think we always think of it as being very visual.
And
I was saying I could not draw my garden, but I can do it and think, that's not right. I don't know what's wrong with it yet, but it doesn't feel right. And then I get visual. It how it is. So I know what you mean.
Yeah. And also, people come think, oh, well, I can't draw like, Rembrandt. So therefore I'm not an artist.
I don't.
Many people can't draw.
I will remember to my dying day. Well, I'm pretty old now, but when I did my 11 plus, that's how old I am. And one of the questions in the 11 plus was, imagine the word mirror written in a mirror. What would that look like? And to this day, I still couldn't answer it. And I have thought about it.
Probably a pointless question.
Well, it is a pointless question. And I know I can hold the word up and do it. And one day before I die, I might actually do that. But because of that, I was sort of labelled at school as being that non-person. And I also did a drawing test by Betty Edwards, who is a great somebody who did a lovely book called Drawing on the Left Side of the Brain, on the right side of the brain. So drawing on the right side of the brain, which means you've got to get that side of the brain. Anyway, it's an interesting book.
Yeah.
But it's I did a test and it said I have a drawing age of 4.
Okay.
So I've always had this very limited idea of who I am. And it's only talking to you and looking at these ideas that you have of what actually means it that opens up the fact that, as Betty Edwards said, we all have a right side of the brain. It's just you've been told not to use it.
I know. And to me, it's interesting because I did a whole thing when I was doing kind of coaching in my business. And I took my daughter for a walk. I coached her through her GCSEs without her realizing it, because we went for a walk and we could have a conversation like this. We didn't have to do a conversation like this, all that kind of stuff. So, and then I kind of found this academic research that said you are 20% more creative when you're walking.
Yeah.
Which I kind of discovered by accident. And they just did it, they did it actually. Unfortunately, you didn't even have to be outside. Even if just walking on a treadmill, you could be more creative. It's something to do with the way that I think you're just operating all the different bits in your body. So you're making those kind of connections. If you go for a walk, if you kind of give it a break, if you're stuck on something, go for a walk and come back. So that's about being creativity. And then I came across the wonderful Julia Cameron, who did The Artist's Way. And that is this kind of self-administered course on creativity. And a lot of it starts, the first 6 weeks are, why do you think you're not creative? And you look at all the things you've been told as a child.
Yeah.
And all the things that you have about it. So for instance, I always go back to, when I was 7 and the teacher said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, an author. So this is 7, right? And then she kind of went, oh no, dear. No. Well, you'd have to be an authoress anyway. But then she's like, no, you don't want to be an author. And she kind of almost said something about, they never make any money. It wasn't quite that, it was a bit like, you never make any money out of that. And there's, and all these kind of different things. So that's at 7, I was told not to be a writer.
But I think it's very, you're a writer or you're a painter or you're a musician.
And or if you're an embroiderer.
Even then, you're that's much more, well, you're doing something, but creativity is a waste of time. It's like if you haven't got anything else, it's like, oh, you know, Mick Jagger faffed around on a piano or faffed around on a, you know, and it's kind of like that's not
He
a
seems to
real
make the
job.
money out of it.
Yeah, it's kind of these not a real job. Like
Not a real job. Well,
it's not a real job. So it's creative is like not real.
that's the political view at the moment. I mean, that's definitely a political view at the moment. That I mean, and I think, you know, they even had a Minister of Education that said there was no point in having art and drama in school because you never made any money about it. And you kind of think, well, let's just talk about the creative industries in this country. But let's me not get on my soapbox about that one.
No, but even if you don't make money,
yes,
going for a walk, actually understanding that there's a side of the brain that needs feeding. And it was kind of looking at this slightly wider issue, you know, for things like arranging things nicely, like you say, in the house or something.
Yeah.
I've just got some shelves put up, which is very unimportant. But you put things on it, you think, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I want that. And I don't want faff on it that everything has to have, it's going to be useful and I want to use it. But actually I've got too many of one thing on one thing, and just enjoying, and I know that sounds mad, but it was like in a certain time, just enjoying arranging and looking at colours and shapes was very cathartic. And then another time you think, I don't want to do that. But it's just understanding that there's a leisure, a relaxation to parts of the brain and an opening up of other parts of the brain when you are creative.
So I kind of think that it's important for people to do something like that, even if you don't think I'm not going to make any money out of it.
No, just
I'm actually going to enjoy it and I'm going to do something. And I kind of discovered this great thing. It's a great thing. I just found it online and it's, there we go. What are they? Layerform.com, and they did this great kind of infographic and it says 40 ways to stay creative. So so the first one is, you know, create an inspiration board. So that's a vision board. That's something which kind of a lot of people's, but even if you don't think that, maybe that's a bit too, you know, so number 3 is sketch more. Well, you might not even be sketching in the first place, you know, but the second one says get out more. So that's going to make you stay creative. Another one says socialize, you know, learn a new skill, read books, you know, visit exhibitions, be around creative people, you know, get a new hobby. So watch films, listen to music. And you did like number 30, which was have sex. You said not necessarily with somebody else.
There you go. You see, be creative.
Be creative.
But I like this, like break your routine. That's something that can be really good.
Yeah.
Listen to some music, watch some films, but just keep a dream diary. I love these, go to the theatre. So
take naps. That's another one.
Yeah. Eat different foods. I mean, we get very stuck. I know, especially if you've got kids, you do tend to think, oh, Monday, you know, you it's just sort of that break that let's think what I really can do or what I really would like to do in this moment, and if they're permission. So it's sort of being kind to yourself in a really nice way and being sort of a bit more fulfilling. But we close all this down and don't always acknowledge.
Because it's somehow not valuable. You know, if you're not going to be an artist for a job or a musician for a job, or you know, to kind of get some income out of it, but actually maybe it is just about that feeding your heart really, and just kind of feeling I just like doing this.
What's making you stuck? Creativity opens up a new avenue.
So it can have that kind of it will affect all aspects of your life.
It's an unstuckness.
An unstuckness. So there we go. So
shall we call this creativity or unstuckness?
Unstuckness. Or both. Or both. But so there's a kind of challenge, possibility.
Have a look and see if you got stunted and how many ways that you are creative, because that's the right side of the brain. That's the left side of the brain is the more sort of what you have to do, your planning part. And the right side is that inspirational part. And just acknowledge that, you know, you're in.
And if the worst comes to worst, just go for a 20-minute walk and see whether you get any ideas that you didn't have before, because scientists say 20% more creative when you're walking. Exactly. There we go. So we're going to leave you with that one.